is industry and market driven under competition. So you can make a flyaway profit. You can make a profit that is reasonable, that is enough to keep the system running and then improve efficiency because there's competition. And when there's competition, people bring out their best in innovation, and then profit, of course, will still be there, but it not be as if there were no competition.
Let's examine this challenge of instilling due process and all of that. Federal government claims it has succeeded in some measure, but the thing is, I know you want the states to inculcate this. About 24 have latched onto it. The remaining 12, how do you intend to go about this?
Yeah, part of what we've done today is to encourage the 24 states and thank the governors and encourage them to give those authorities the same level of protection and free hand that we have gotten at the federal level that the president has given us, and then encourage the other states that have not, that it is their own interest to have those laws, really. It is their own interest. One, if you do so, you have a legal framework to even prosecute those who go against the law. Right now, if you don't have a state law and you catch somebody, there's nothing you can do. If you take him to court, there's no law that he has violated, so to say. But if you have a law, then you would have provided the mechanism that will punish people. And in any society where there are no sanctions and incentives, people have no reason to behave ethically. And so the whole essence is really to encourage those people to enact the law and then find a collaboration with the federal government, who share experiences, because basically Nigeria has one economy. Even though we are on a federation, the federal government is fairly independent, states are independent, but they are running one economy. If the federal government keeps about 40 or 52% or so, then the states are keeping the others. And the local government, when I say state, I mean state and local governments, the other 48% or thereabouts, percent of the federation money is spent in the other economy. And it's good that they also understand the same rules. Again, it makes it easier for business operators. So that some guy operating in Lagos will not have the same set of rules guiding the operations in, say, in Taraba. And then somebody in River State will understand if he goes to Kano. So he can operate across any part of the country. The rules are the same. The principles are the same. Competition.
Okay, just hold on to that thought. We'll come back to those who flout the rules against due process in procurement of services. We're still with the Director General of the Bureau of Public Procurement, Mr. Emeka Eze. Please join us again after now.
It's a dynamic industry out there. News, events, personality profiles, and so much more to keep up with. Don't let events pass you by.
I don't know any nominee.
Be the one who knows. Watch entertainment news on Channels Television for the latest celebrity news, an express pass to the A-list event, a trip behind the director's camera. Action. Yes, indeed, it's a dynamic industry out there, but we can help you keep pace. Join us. Get your swagger.
Welcome back. We're still with the Director General of the Bureau of Public Procurement. Thank you for joining us once again.
Thank you.
Well, just still on the issue of due processes in the procurement of services, you mentioned sanctions against those who flout the rules. How strong are these sanctions to ward away people who just are always daily tempted to do this?
Yes, the law is very clear on what can happen to anybody who flouts the rule. For me as a public officer and anybody in public service, I stand to actually be dismissed from the system and then go to jail.
Does that actually happen?
Yeah, it does. And then go to jail for a term not less than 5 calendar years, right? Without option of fine.
For this year alone?
For me alone. And
how many cases have you had?
But you know, for this year alone, we have many cases in court. But you know, as a bureau, I don't have the power to declare you guilty or not. But until the court does so.
So how many cases have the court successfully?
How many cases? That is part of our challenge. Some of the cases we started 7 years ago are still in the courts. And that's why part of the outcome of this exercise that the conference recommended that we must find a way of approaching the CJ and the Attorney General to see whether there could be a way of either direction practice to give accelerated attention to procurement related issues so that we can have as much of judgment cases delivered to deepen the jurisprudence in cases relating to procurement. Because it's really frustrating to have a case last for 7 good years on simple case of complaint of abuse of a process.
You see, that's where the worry is. You know, why would we have an organization like this and we go ahead to have sanctions, and if we're serious about this, there is no way to get these people, you know, to mete out adequate punishment to them. So what are we really doing? Is it not a case of merry-go-round?
But you know, no matter how strong you feel about it, the legal process of hearing people out before you pass a judgment, which is a constitutional provision, must also be complied with. You have to be conscious of that. The law also has a provision for administrative sanction, which is much easier to deal with, which is what we are dealing with. Part of removing people, removing them from procuring entity, you know, transferring them out. Those ones are daily occurrence we do every now and then. But people want, you know, Nigerians like drama. They want to see somebody arrested in court and said that, oh, he has been jailed for doing this and do that. But I don't have the power to jail anybody. I don't have the power to even to pronounce you guilty. It is only the court that can do so. And the constitutional provision is supreme to any other law that we have. And that is that you must give people fair hearing, especially on matters of criminal nature, that will take him to jail. So, no matter how strong you feel about it, that constitutional provision still has to be takes precedence over other laws of the land.
So what was the outcome of the conference on the issue of non-completion of contracts? We have that, you know, very often. Everybody noted that, and we also noted that part of it was perhaps a lot of things that have been identified in the past, perhaps non-payment of contractors as and when due, awarding contracts when the designs have not been completed, which has led the federal government through Mr. President's directive to issue instructions that no contract will be awarded except if all the final designs have been completed. In the process, you were able to have a holistic idea of how much it's going to cost and how long, and appropriate funds appropriately for them. But in trying to do the appropriation, you know, the executive arm has no supreme authority over that. You have the other arm of government that appropriates funds. So, working together, really, put together all these issues. If you don't pay a contractor for his certificates, it will be unfair for you to expect him to conclude and finish the job. While in other clients where you can easily borrow money at, say, 5% interest rate, if he has to borrow from Nigerian banks, he has to pay between 20 to 21%. And if he borrows that, he has to add some for his own profit. And by the time you know it, you'll be hitting 30%, and that will be extremely, extremely unsustainable because of the interest rates. Doesn't make it pocket friendly for you to borrow money from the commercial rates to finish those projects. So the president's announcement, is there some solution?
Yeah, of course it is, because it has brought some discipline in the system. Right now, even in my office here, if you come here for no objection certificate and I don't see any evidence of final designs, environmental impact analysis, especially for major projects, you don't get the contractor approved for award.
So you see, we're just wondering right now, do you think this due process has really addressed corruption in a large scale?
You see, the best way to address corruption is for everybody to key into due process, because it is stopping the crime from being committed, rather than what you have now. When something happens, then begin to pursue the person. It's like in medicine, you want to do preventive medicine rather than curative medicine, by spending a lot of money on educating people on lifestyle, eating well, and all that. In the process, you reduce the possibility of people getting sick. And so, same thing, due process is a mechanism that will help government fight corruption by putting systems that will discourage people from committing the crime in the first instance. And so with that, you don't need to spend so much money chasing people. After the milk has been spilled on the sand, then you spend a lot of energy trying to recover the sand, the milk from the sand, and at the end of the day, nothing happens. So it's better you spend little money stopping it. And that's why Mr. President has approved the deployment of technology in what we do through the categorization and classification of contractors. These are all the mechanisms we're putting in place to ensure that as much as possible, we prevent corruption rather than fighting it. Fighting it means it has happened, then you begin to arrest people, put them on chains, carry them on television, and then take them to court, and that's the end of the story. The thing will be there for the next 7-10 years. But if you spend a little money out of it and educate people, encourage them, then you wouldn't need to go to that extent. And then people will be fine. The whole country will be better for it. And that's exactly what we're doing.
You know, now you mentioned categorization of contractors. It brings me to this. Is this not some form of discrimination in any way?
Discrimination? No, it can be. All over the world. Players of the same grade play, even in Premier League. There's Division 1, there's Division 2, there's Division 3. And people graduate from one division to another, depending on their capacities and competencies and performances. There are contractors who can build bridges. There are contractors who can build 10-story building. There are those who can build only 1-story building. There are those who can build 5-story building. So we want to put those who are in one category and one particular class to compete.
And we're not having round pegs and square holes.
Great.
We're not?
No, we had them, and this exercise will make sure we are trying to have the round peg in round holes and square pegs in square holes.
So in the next few years, what should Nigerians be looking forward to concerning procurement of services?
I've seen in the next few years a system where procurement officers will stand up to the legal provisions of their states or the federal government and tell whoever is involved that, sorry, I can't do this because it's against the provisions of the law.
Very well. Thank you very much, Mr. Emeka Eze, Director General of the Bureau of Public Procurement. Thank you for joining us on Dateline.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for sending in your views. Continue to send us your opinions using the address and Twitter handle on your screen. And don't you forget, you can view the program on youtube.com/channelsweb/video. So you can make your comments after viewing the current video as well as older episodes of the program. I'm Gloria Umezuki. Thank you for watching and see you again.